Hello and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News channel. We're going to make some end of the year predictions today because the market finally turned up, but it's not only like, some kind of dead cat bounce or something. It's the reason it turned up today because the employment numbers were better than expected, which honestly makes sense because the employment numbers weren't expected to be bad because no one can find a job. There's plenty of people hiring out there. It's just that like people aren't taking the job. And employers are actually having to raise wages to attract and signing bonuses to attract workers. In the case of Amazon, $18 an hour plus $3,000 signing bonus. That generally bodes well for the economy. It doesn't bode all that poorly, but it seems like more people than expected took the jobs, and they were up 467,000 in January. So that was a lot better than the 150,000 or even negative numbers that they actually expected. So that's like a positive sign that's actually built on substance. Plus, Amazon's earnings basically counteracted Facebook's bad earnings the day earlier. So there's actually reasons for this to come. I do actually believe some of the price hikes or rate hikes are already priced in. As long as they don't raise it extremely fast, it shouldn't impact it that much. It will impact it come March, but it shouldn't be impacted that much because people are already expecting it. So where do I see BTC? For BTC, I can say like this weekend, I think there is a chance that we go to 45,000 this weekend, but there's also a very good chance that we stay at 41,500 or so. Because remember, BTC is basically following the stock market. And the stock market doesn't open on weekends. So until the Dow futures comes out Sunday night, we might not actually get a very big rise in terms of price. But I do expect us to open. Also, look at the European exchanges on Friday night because they open like half a day before us, and the Asian exchanges the day before on Sunday. So look at those to see like a gauge of where Bitcoin might open on Monday because all markets are kind of correlated. So you can actually get kind of like a sort of a preview almost from those. I do expect the Dow to actually open positive and the NASDAQ especially to open positive next week. So I do expect Bitcoin to go up like next week. I don't really know about after Valentine's Day into the later part of the month because then like during the later part of the month, like futures actually comes into play. The future expiry and everything come into play. So it's a lot less certain. But I do expect strong opening to next week. In terms of this year, March, April-ish might be slowish, but after like mid-year and into the early summer, I do think a lot of the inflation fears will actually kind of subside because them actually cranking up the interest rates, which should already be priced in, should actually kind of like alleviate some of the inflation fears. And once those inflation fears go away, I do believe Bitcoin can reach, Bitcoin can actually reach 100,000 like late this year. Maybe mid this year, but probably late this year. And some of you who think that think like I'm being too optimistic, think about it this way. Bitcoin dumped to $3,000 basically on a flash crash, and it was at $5,000 in early 2020, consistent. By the end of the year, it had almost grown to $25,000. So that was 5x. We only need about 2.5 to get to 100,000. So that's definitely not out of the question. If we have another bullish market, 100,000 is definitely well within range. That is still my goal. Assuming that happens, I do think Cardano can get to about $5, maybe $7.50, maybe $5, $6, $7. That's kind of my goal for Cardano. BNB, I'm looking at $1,000, maybe $1,200. It's my goal for BNB. ETH, I'm hoping it hits like $7,000, $6,000, $7,000, maybe a little bit more, maybe like $8,000. I think ETH can actually be worth that much. Terra Luna is one that I'm actually quite bullish. Solana, I'm not really sure because Solana has had its problems. However, Solana has one hell of a marketing team that's basically, and Sam Bankman-Fried actually acquiring everything. So by year's end, if things actually go well, or sometime during this year, Solana can hit like $350, $400 in that kind of a market. That is pending that it doesn't suffer any DDoS attacks while the market is running up, because that can always happen based on its past history. XRP is really hard to gauge. It'll go up to probably like $2-3, honestly, if we have a really big bull run. But all that's dependent on the lawsuit, and the lawsuit doesn't seem to want to resolve until at least late this year. It might actually drag on into next year at this point. So that's really hard to gauge. Terra Luna, I think it can hit $200-$300. I really like Luna's ecosystem. I don't think the recent FUD actually has much substance, so I definitely think Terra Luna's ecosystem can pull it up to maybe like $200, maybe even more. DOT, I am actually pretty bullish on. I can see it breaking $100 because the thing is, it still hasn't got its pump from the parachains yet. And the parachains are starting to actually get into its ecosystem right now. And once DOT gets its ecosystem going, it should receive a pretty good pump. So I think DOT can have a lot of price growth, maybe $100 or more. Not really going to talk about Doge because that's like an Elon Musk pumping Dogecoin. AVAX, AVAX I really like. It has a lot of TVL. Remember, the TVL for a lot of these DeFi systems is going to go straight through the roof once like we get to 100,000. And that's kind of bad for the coins that don't actually have DeFi and TVL. So you really want the coins with DeFi and total value lock. AVAX is one of those, like, $300-$400, not like completely out of the question, definitely. Polygon, I'm looking for 5 to 10 as usual. Everything on Ethereum is eventually bleeding to Polygon right now. Same thing in IMX. IMX, Immutable X might actually jump more than Polygon because it's much lower in market cap. Although Polygon will always have the higher market cap from Matic. So maybe like 750 is what I should look for in Polygon. Let's actually just go down to Vechain now. I'm still looking for $1 on Vechain. It is like 6 cents right now, yes, but it did pump to 26 cents at the height of the run last year, and I think the height of the run this year is going to be significantly higher. You can see like stuff like Vechain and even Sand, they're basically just like going to pump more than Bitcoin, but they're generally going to follow Bitcoin. If Bitcoin has this pump to 100,000, I think Vechain can have a massive pump as well, at least to 50 cents, if not $1. These are much lower in the market caps than the other coins I'm talking about, so they should pump much harder. The other ones I like are like Atom, maybe can reach like $100, $150 is what I'm looking for. Algorand, I think like, $4 or $5 is definitely reasonable. Mana, Mana is interesting because there's other metaverses that actually challenge it now, but I think it can still go to $10 plus, maybe even $20 plus. So that's actually what I'm kind of looking at the market. I still like ICX, but the marketing kind of sucks for ICX. But however, it does actually have DeFi now. So I think ICX can actually, like 10x in value, and it should 10x in value because I do think it's very, very undervalued. Other ones I would be looking at are like IOTA. Very, very, like IOTA is definitely worth looking at. It actually does have staking and rewards now, which it didn't before. The partnerships are still solid, even though IOTA is very much long-term. And the thing is, IOTA, they're finally getting everything in place. They're kind of decentralizing. So I do think IOTA is one of those that can actually really surprise people. So that does it for this segment right here. There are some of my predictions. Hope you enjoyed this segment. And yes, I know a lot of you think I'm really too optimistic, but I think they're within reason because of what happened just basically last year. I think it can duplicate it again this year. And I do think most of the economic concerns are regarding around inflation. And I do actually think the fear of inflation is going to alleviate as the year goes on. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe and hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.